to Live Free with Rebecca Bush. This is episode 14. I am honored to be joined today by Mollie Engelhart. Many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with her work. We are absolutely honored to have her join us as well as a speaker at this year's Exit and Build Land Summit. We're also going to be discussing a few other cool collaborations and partnerships. I'm really excited to have Mollie on the show today. I will go ahead and have her join us now.
Yay. Hello, Rebecca.
Hello, and your kiddos might be joining too. It sounds like they're kind of in the other
I'm
room.
literally texting my husband, like, can you try to keep the kids downstairs?
But if not, well, the more the merrier.
A lot of children.
Yeah, and you do, you have 5 kiddos, right? So, and you all moved from California. Now you have your farm, Sovereignty Ranch in Texas. So how's all that going?
We're officially Texas residents. I still sometimes am like drinking my coffee in the morning, like, oh, I live here. This is where I live now. I've been in California my entire adult life. So it's like to not be a Californian is different. So,
well, we're glad that you're here in Texas with us, and I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself. If you want to share with the audience, like a little bit about your history, your work in this field, and then also if you want to elaborate too on, why you did leave California, and we'll kind of start off there, some backstory.
Yeah, I was a vegan chef, and I owned a chain of vegan restaurants that are still, some of them open in Los Angeles. And 13 years ago when I started that, I genuinely thought that was the way forward, that veganism was good for people and for the environment. And over the years, I really realized that is maybe not necessarily true, and that there's lots of diets that work for lots of different people, but that ultimately, to have healthy soil, we need to have animal integration. And so I started a regenerative farm in California, regenerated the soil of this kind of desolate place, and brought it all back to life and created this like super beautiful, amazing farm with a circular food system. So the compost would come from the restaurants, go turned into soil, and then go food back to the restaurants. But through COVID and 2.5 years of being shut down and to go only or outside dining only, yada, 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 it really destroyed the businesses that we had built for so many years. And it became a financial imperative that we had to shut some of them down, and that we had to sell our place in California because of financial reasons. And so I'm here as a political refugee, or escaping the bureaucracy, or whatever you want to say. But like, it was just impossible to do business inside of the regulations in California.
Yeah. And it seems like a lot of people have that same story where it's like just the way that those draconian policies were implemented and the ripple effects, even years later, it's just so challenging to be an entrepreneur in a place like California or even like New York, for instance. So
yes, and we were doing better during the pandemic than we were during because we were able to cut labor and be more efficient if it's just to go. But it was when they opened back up and there was 3 raises to minimum wage in a short succession, and people were still not totally comfortable to go out to eat. We had retrained people. People were afraid. Think about before the pandemic, going out to a crowded bar where everybody was bumping into each other and the tables were close together and it was hip, and that was like super cool, and we were super cool. And then after the pandemic, it was like everything has to be far apart and people don't feel safe if there's a lot of people and all that stuff. And so that was one thing. And then it was just like this perfect storm, and then all the minimum wage raising, and then the homeless explosion. And then we get to this point where it's like there's all these people with no place to live that are having all different kinds of life crises and mental crises. And then people are afraid to go out to eat. People are telling me like, oh, I used to walk my dog and come down and have buffalo cauliflower and a cocktail every night. Now I never go out at nighttime, and I fenced my yard, and my dog just sits in my yard because I'm too scared to take my dog on a walk. Well, that's one story, but that is compounded over so many times. And then the writers strike, and then the actors strike. And it was just like, I just kept thinking, it's got to get better. It's got to get better. I mean, I did 11 years of year over year growth in a restaurant and business in Los Angeles, like the most regulated place in the world. Like I felt like I knew how to navigate that, but it was like the blows just kept coming. And then supply chain shortages and volatile prices.
That
And I
whole vortex.
it was like, and on top of that, to be honest, I think that the vegan thing is kind of passe. I mean, how many recovering vegans do you know?
Yeah.
A lot. There's a lot of recovering vegans. So anyways, we're not announcing it yet, but around Earth Day, we have a big announcement about what's going to happen with our restaurants in LA. It's exciting. I can't say anything about it yet, but some big exciting changes are happening for our restaurants in LA. But for now, we are here in Texas. We've started this ranch a couple years ago here.
Yeah, I'm going to screen share. This is Sovereignty Ranch. Maybe while you talk, I'll kind of scroll down the page.
So we're creating an event space, or we already have. Rebecca's been here to events. We have a full functioning restaurant on the farm, like state of the art, like you would find anywhere in a city, but right here on the ranch. Currently we have about 7 tiny homes, 10 tents on platforms, and 3 manufactured like full 3 and 4 bedroom homes, all for rental for short term. We do corporate retreats. We do all different kinds of events. You could do your birthday party. You could do the policeman's ball, whatever you want here. And we provide farm to table regenerative food. Me and my husband are both chefs. So the best food that you could imagine. We have our own dairy cows. We have greenhouses, about 2 acres almost under greenhouse. And we have chickens, we have pigs, sheep, goats, traditional like old style farm where we're growing fruit trees and we're having animals and everything is integrated. The manure is not a problem. It's an asset. And we're building a brewery on the farm as well. So we'll be a destination brewery, kind of like a destination winery, but we're going to be a destination brewery. And we are still raising money for this. So if you are interested in investing in a business like this, I always say it's a great business model for today and it's a great prep for tomorrow. So that's my sales pitch on if you want to invest in the hospitality enterprise here. And our next we have some events coming up here pretty soon. We have this coming week, we're doing the homesteading course. So that's a week-long homesteading course with my family. My oldest son, my husband, myself, my sister-in-law are all teaching different parts of the course. And we're going to offer this again. So this is in March 4th, but we're also going to offer it, I think, in October 5th or October 4th as well. And this one, we're going to do 2 ticket versions for October for people that can't spend a whole week. We're going to have a 3-day ticket and for a long weekend. And then we're going to have a 7-day for the full course who wants to deep dive. So we feel excited about that. And the next course we're offering is with Dome Gaia, and that's aircrete, which is a way of building concrete where you use soap to make foam that goes into the concrete. And then the concrete becomes not only the insulation, but also the building material. And each brick that's like the size of like regular blocks for cinder blocks only weighs 6 pounds because it's got all this foam soap into it that made all these air holes. So it's a really cool building, and the materials are anywhere in the world. So if you learn how to build this way, you could build something as small as a pizza oven. It's mostly dome buildings, or you could build something as big as a 3,000 square foot house with multiple domes connected. It's really up to you. And wherever you are in the world, the materials are essentially soap and concrete and, you know, some basic tools that you would already know, that you would have. So we're doing a course that's going to be on the 15th to the 24th. And so that's coming up here, and we're providing food for everybody. And it'll be 10 days learning how to do this kind of building. And the really why I was interested in it is that you could go to sub-Sahara Africa, you could go to Canada, you could go to Russia, you could go to South America, you could go anywhere, and concrete and soap are going to be available. And so I think it's cool to have a building that is able to be built anywhere. And then we're also doing the Confluence, which is a second version of this event. We did one for the last eclipse, and now we're doing it for this eclipse. It's really about, it's partnered with my friend Alex Zach, and he has the way forward. And we're really just looking at ways for people to move forward into this world, and try to be less dependent on the systems that we're all dependent on. And so there's going to be speakers talking about everything from frequency medicine to cryptocurrency, to there's Veda Austin talking about water and memory, how that works. There's different doctors, Andy Kaufman, people talking about being sovereign citizens, all different kinds of speakers and experiences. The Breath with Beats guys are doing a CBD cannabis thing. I mean, all different kind of cool events and interesting things that are happening over the 4 days. And so that's really going to be a fun weekend. And it is the weekend of the eclipse, which is going to be hectic in this part of Texas. I mean, it's crazy. Rent-a-cars are $800.
Yeah,
$2,000.
this is like the best place to watch the eclipse, right? Is right there in Utopia, Bandera. That's like the prime spot to watch the eclipse, from what I understand. So
yeah, we're right. But what's the craziness that I bought a ranch that's in the X of these two eclipses? I felt like it was like God, the universe saying, like, X marks the spot, because one eclipse is going this way and one is going this way. Like, and it's like literally my ranch is was in the path of totality of both of them.
And it's a beautiful ranch too. When we visited for Confluence, the one that was in October for that eclipse, and I couldn't believe how much you have built in such a short amount of time. I mean, you're really kicking butt. Like, it's like over a year. Or when did you guys move out there exactly?
I moved out there in December this year. So I've only lived here full time.
Not even a year.
We would come for like 3 or 4 weeks and just boom, 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 get stuff done, and then go back to LA and work, and then make more money, and then come and spend all our money, boom, 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 and then go back. But I mean, we're really trying to invest in having, like I said, this is a business for now, but it also is everything that we will need to hunker down if it comes to that.
Preparedness.
And
that's awesome. They're teaching people those skills too. So for folks who come out to events like, for instance, the homesteading one that you're doing again in October, or even coming out to Confluence, like having that experience, staying for the weekend. One thing I wanted to ask you about, because I'm just fascinated by this, is the magnesium soaking pond. Can you talk about that? How did you guys build that? Like, it's beautiful, and I'm just like curious.
It's just like, we're lucky. Like, so I mean, I think lots of areas of the hill country have very, very high levels of magnesium. And there was a pond that was kind of failed, or a tank, as they call it in Texas, underneath the house there. And so I wanted to do some work on it. And then we had a well right below it. And so we used that pond to irrigate from there. So we pumped to the pond and then irrigate out. And when we had the water tested, it was like 2,000 something parts per million of magnesium. But the magnesium falls to the bottom of the water, right? And then we're always pumping back out to the irrigation. So it just continues to get more and more and more magnesium in the water. So now it's like crazy parts per million, and you feel almost high after you get out of the water. And because of how white the gypsum and the magnesium and all of that is, the pond looks almost like the color of like a tropical blue water that you would see in the Caribbean. But the Caribbean water is obviously not blue, it's the white sand beaches. But the bottom of my pond is also white like that. And so that's why it looks that beautiful color.
Yeah, I was trying to pull up a photo, but folks will just have to come out and see it for themselves, because we're actually excited to announce that at the
Big announcement.
woohoo! Among other exciting announcements, but we're actually going to have our immersive farm tour at Sovereignty Ranch. So you will have an opportunity to come see the property for yourself, take a dip in the magnesium soaking pond, possibly, enjoy a delicious meal, and see all the great food production going at Sovereignty Ranch. So we're kind of still sorting out the details, but that's going to be Monday, May 20th. So folks who come to the Land Summit, not only will you be able to see Mollie present, which is going to be a treat in and of itself, but you'll also have the opportunity, if you'd like to travel to Bandera, Texas, to come on out and see Sovereignty Ranch for yourself. So that'll be a really cool experience.
Yeah, we're going to do a luncheon, farm tour, show everybody around, show them holistic planned grazing, the greenhouses, the orchards, everything that we've done, where we are and where we're going. And we're going to do a beautiful farm to table meal with food from our ranch, meat from our ranch, everything from here. And so it'll be an opportunity to really be able to eat food of the land and stand on the land. And I always think that that's a privilege when you get to eat. It's a privilege I get to have a lot of my life, but I think it is a privilege to be able to eat of the land. And I think that we want to inspire more people to do this. And I don't think that people even know that the food they're eating is not, I don't think people realize the difference. Like when you taste food that's like super fresh and was prepared without seed oils and blah, blah, blah in the place that it was grown, you realize the vitality in that food is just totally different. I mean, I got many thank you notes from the last Confluence saying like, oh my God, the food was impeccable. The food was, usually when you go to a conference, the food is kind of meh. It was so unbelievable. Like I got so many emails about the food. So
I had pizza when I went to Confluence. Like, this is the best pizza I've had in my entire life.
With sourdough regenerative crust. So if you're going to eat pizza, you might as well do it that way.
Definitely taste the difference. But so let's talk about Confluence too, because you kind of brought that up, but that's coming up, and that's April 6th through the 8th, right? So they can actually see the eclipse. And this is the second.
You can leave on the morning of the 9th. People are confused because we're saying the 6th through 8th, no, the 5th, but you can come on the evening of the 5th and you can leave on the morning of the 9th, just so people know that.
Yeah, and I'll drop the code too, because we have if you go to the checkout page, the Live Free 10, that'll get you 10% off on your ticket. So hopefully.
Yes, definitely. Live Free 10. And you can remember that because we all want to live free.
Yes, exactly. That's the goal. And that's why we're buying land and growing our own food and cooking delicious meals and pursuing the self-sufficient life. But you were featured in Kiss the Ground. Do you care to share a little bit about your experience with that documentary? And for folks who haven't seen it, like what they could expect if they're able to tune in and check it out? I know it's on Netflix.
So I sit on the board of Kiss the Ground, which is a nonprofit that mostly focuses on soil health. And I don't know that not that many people really even understand how integral soil health is to human health. But essentially, this nonprofit is always trying to get us to a healthier place around soil. There's 2 feature-length documentaries that I'm not in, but they're were put out by Kiss the Ground. One is in theaters right now. So it might be in your area. It might not be, called Common Ground, but will be coming out on the major streaming services on Earth Day. And then the first one is available on Netflix right now. It's available on Netflix right now. So you can go, and Woody Harrelson is the narrator, and it's like 2 hours. And then there's an 11-minute documentary about the farm in California that I was telling you about on their website for free as well, under Stories of Regeneration. And so there's different farmers that are switching their ranches to regenerative agriculture. And those are just like 11 minutes, super consumable. Like I just want to watch something before bed, but I don't want to watch an hour.
Yeah, I watched that clip before our interview just to kind of like ground myself in the farm that you had started up in California. And that's where the B-roll footage and your interviews were all filmed. And it was really cool to see what you had built there. And I know that must be kind of hard to, leave all of that beautiful land and all the work that you put into that property. But I'm really happy though that you did land in Texas and that you're doing it all over again at Sovereignty Ranch. So
me too. And honestly, a lot of things I wanted to do as far as like holistic planned grazing, moving animals, all that thing, I couldn't do it. I couldn't afford the land in California the way I could afford land here. Like like for what I sold my ranch in California for is the same as what I bought my ranch here for. And it's 17 acres and 250 acres.
wow. Yeah, and you have a house on the property too, and you've built out like the restaurant area. There's like a stage. I mean, did you guys build that up or did that all come with the
I built
property?
all that. None of that was there.
Wow. Yeah, you really are moving quickly then. And it's exciting to hear too that you're accepting investors for the microbrewery because that is going to bring a whole other element to the experience for folks.
For sure. And it's not just the brewery. If you invest, it's in the hospitality, the short-term stays, the Airbnb, and the restaurant. So you get a percentage of all of that. But yeah, I think that I have a specific skill set in the world that God gave me or whatever my parents gave me. I don't know who gave it to me, but that I'm good at making stuff, pulling stuff into existence in physical form. And I was just talking to my friend about this the other day is like, lots of people have really great ideas and you could have like, and I use this example as like, I had this great idea to make coconut based ice cream. This is like years and years and years ago. There was no coconut ice cream. And I also wanted to do a coffee beverage with coconut milk in it. So I had this idea. I was telling everybody about my idea. I did a bunch of research. I even had like some pints and stuff made. And basically I got stopped at that point. There was no short runs on, I had to get like a warehouse full of pints printed and I couldn't afford it. And so I just kind of let the whole thing go. And what I realized is like, so that good idea doesn't, and then other Coconut Bliss came out. They were the first ones. And I was so devastated. Like that was my idea. And here's the thing is like, everybody's having great ideas all the time and we're all connected. So whatever's in the ether, in the zeitgeist, like we're all going to be thinking of these things.
Morphic resonance.
Are you going to do it? Are you going to do it? And I learned somehow of this life is how to just take the next step and just no matter how hard it feels, no matter how many no's I got, I will just get to a yes. Like that's the way I'm going to do it. I just power through. And that kind of ability is my superpower. So yeah, we were just powering through in California and here getting stuff done. And I mean, if you knew the shoestring that I built that restaurant on, I built that whole, I don't know, what is it, 4,000 square foot restaurant for like $80,000. And I was like using every kind of scrap wood and things that I had left over from this and that. And like, just to do everything I could to get it done. And in time for Confluence. And then I did get it done in time for not almost. It didn't have air conditioning. I was like praying for good weather.
The weather was perfect though that weekend.
I didn't even notice that we didn't have air conditioning.
Well, you pulled it off effortlessly because from an attendee perspective, I was completely blown away. The property is just so beautiful and all the greenhouses and everything that was set up. I couldn't believe it. It was just, I wish I could have camped and stayed the whole weekend. It was so lovely to visit.
When you come back, because you guys are going to do the one of the workshops at the next one. When you come back, you're not even going to believe it because like however many greenhouses we had then, now we have like A, B, C, D, E, F. They're in all the way. We're down to L. Like my son was like, I'm planting greenhouse L with tomatoes. I was like, L, we're all the way to L.
You're at the end of the alphabet soon. You're halfway there.
So it's been really exciting and we're really feeling inspired and scared. And I think my dad used to say, if you're not afraid, you're not playing a big enough game. And so we shouldn't like take fear as something that means we should stop. It's just a feeling, like let it come over you and keep going. Powerful people take the next step even when they're afraid. And I'm afraid all the time. People are like, doesn't this seem so scary? You have kids, you have this. Of course. And it's always worked out. Like from this point, even my restaurant's going out of business, whatever, it's always worked out. Like always, it always works out. And that's what we just have to keep our attention and our focus on.
Yeah. Yeah. And mindset's so important. Okay. I'm curious though, in those greenhouses, what are you growing? Because that's a lot of greenhouses and you have cows also, right? So like how much food production is happening on the farm right now?
Well, it's not as much as we would like it to be. I don't have outlets. Like I've applied to a bunch of farmers markets and nobody's gotten back to me. So to be totally honest, we just got like 4,000 tomato plants yesterday, and my husband's thinking about throwing some of them away. I was like, wait, let me try to sell them on Craigslist. If anybody needs tomato plants, you drive down here, I will give you free tomato plants, because I did a custom order and we thought we'd be more at production than we are right now. So it looks like we're only going to plant 1,000 tomato plants, and so I'm going to have like 3,000 extra tomato plants. But because we just don't have the outlets yet for them, so that I can't have the labor. And so, but right now we have about 4,000 onions in the ground. I got
oh my god,
cabbage in the ground, cabbage, broccoli, Swiss chard, onions, garlic, a bunch of herbs, lemongrass and oregano. We've set up we brought all my blueberries from California.
Oh, that's good.
Because they grow above ground because the soil's too alkaline anyways, or it's alkaline here and it's alkaline there. And so they were all in pots. And so I brought them all with me. So I have my big blueberry plants are in one house, like just shade, no plastic. We got strawberries, blackberries. We just have about, I don't know, 10 acres of orchard, maybe a little bit more, pecans, peaches, apricots, pears, apples. And we got zucchini in the ground and tomatoes that are in the greenhouses, and we'll start planting those outside in a couple of weeks when we know there's not going to be any more frost. Yesterday, I was like, there's definitely not going to be any more frost. It's 92 degrees.
Yeah.
And this morning I woke up, it was 38 degrees and windy.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe there's going to be more.
Yeah. Welcome to Texas.
Everybody says, like, if it's
what?
10 minutes later, you don't like the weather, just wait 10 minutes. I saw this meme and it was like, Texas moms be like, and it was this woman's back of her trunk, and she was like holding up like swim trunks and down jackets, like in her trunk for all her kids. Like,
yeah, one day you go swimming in the river, the next day you need your winter coat.
Yeah, that's what it was like.
Well, that's amazing that you're growing all of that. I have garden envy, but that's good that you're hosting workshops and teaching people, because
you need some tomatoes for your garden envy.
I sure do. Yeah.
And you drive out here, I'll give you some.
There's a lot of like nurseries and things too that would buy wholesale and like, distribute like that way too. So maybe for now, if you do have that much surplus, you could that could be an angle. But I wonder, the San Antonio farmers markets are usually popping. So, and New Braunfels is blowing.
I know. Well, that's why I ordered extra, because I thought maybe I could sell the starts at the farmers market, because everybody will be starting their garden at the same time. But
yeah, and connecting with other vendors and the local economy and kind of connecting with folks that way.
Yes.
Yep. Well, there's definitely a lot of people who are in your shoes, who have moved from California, and Texas is like a safe haven. So we're all working together to keep it that way, but definitely good to connect with other folks who are doing.
I'm hoping that we're going to be like the vigilant front line, because we know how terrible it was other places. People are like, oh, don't bring your politics here. I was like, you actually want me to bring my politics here, because I know how the bureaucracy destroyed my business. Yeah. I know how it destroyed everything that I worked so hard for. So I feel like I'm the perfect person to bring my politics here.
Because you've been stung
and say like, no, actually we're not, we're overstepping. You think it's just this, but this leads to this, because we're going to be vigilant. Yeah.
Do not allow it to happen elsewhere in Texas, because this is like right now an interesting time to be alive. I think we
I
have an
always
interesting
think
spirit
that.
here in Texas. So that's I think one of the last beacons of hope, for a lot of humanity, at least with the way
I know
things are going
there's a lot of
nowadays.
interesting things about Texas though that have it poised to maybe that they could do something very interesting, like how the grid is separate. They're
Yeah.
the only, when you're doing land patents, they're the only state that didn't give the land all the way to the corporation. So they still kept it at the state level. So it's like less steps when you're doing a land patent. And so that's interesting. And their grid is separate, which is interesting. And there's some other interesting land rights things that have Texas poised. And, there's also a lot of bureaucracy coming in. Like I'm trying to get a grade A dairy permit, health permit. I would say that we're already letting a lot of regulations come in. So I think that we do need to be vigilant. And so my request of my fellow Texans is that we be vigilant and that we think, oh, it's no big deal. It's just for safety. Whenever something's for safety, we can guarantee that it's taking away freedoms. And I think that we have to remember that it's not worth it to trade freedom for safety. Like we think, oh, well, they're just doing that to save us from what? Like we can't process our own meat on our own farm because we're being saved from what? We need a permit to drink raw milk because what? And so there's some stuff that's not as, like my dad's in Idaho and he didn't even need any permit to sell raw milk at the farmer's market to the grocery stores.
How it should be.
And that's amazing. You know what I mean? And he went to get his business license and the byline is like the whatever office of whatever of Idaho. We like to keep it simple.
Keep it simple. The KISS principle.
And so, but then he's been having some permitting issues and things that we don't have here in unincorporated areas of Texas. So I think that everywhere you go, it's going to be a trade-off, but I feel inspired about choosing Texas and I'm going to be vigilant about keeping bureaucracy at bay.
Well, you're in a good place for that too, because I think anywhere outside of like Austin or the bigger cities have more flexibility and freedoms in that way. How large do you anticipate growing the community? Because your family's living out there, and do you have like ranch hands? Are you looking for people to join the community? Sovereignty Ranch or like more home sites?
I don't know what we're going to do about more home sites. My brother bought 5 acres from us and built a house. And we have, right now we have, I don't know, 30 people living here. And
what? Oh my gosh.
It's a lot to navigate. People love to think about community in a like kind of magical way. And as someone who's like the benevolent dictator of a community, just kidding, I'm not a benevolent dictator. I wish I was more of a dictator. But it is complicated. Community is complicated. I'm always studying how other people are doing it and how do you, but I think we will eventually have more people join the community. But right now it's just navigating. We want to put systems in place so that can work. How does the equipment sharing work? Because right now it's like it's my equipment and then everybody shares it and then all of a sudden something's broken and nobody
you're caught with
nobody shares the repair man. You know what I mean? It's like somebody drove over the cap to the septic tank and we need a $1,500 repair and nobody's responsible. You know what I mean? So it's like community is complicated and I've lived in some version of community my whole life. My parents always had a farm growing up and it wasn't community like this, but it was always, so-and-so's house burned down, so-and-so's getting divorced. So we always had people living with our spare bedroom was literally always a family in need or always a family living with us. And they worked on the farm. They had a clothing company that existed in the barn. And so there was always a lot of people there. And I've lived in many versions. And so I'm still working on perfecting our systems so that when we add more people to the ranch, it doesn't add more stress to everybody.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of people living out there already. But yeah, so for folks who are wanting to come out and visit, or if you have any closing thoughts, I was just going to share this is your website. So you can learn more at sovereigntyranch.com. And there's an events tab, and there's lots of great events. But Confluence is one that John and I will be at, and that's coming up April 6th through the 8th. And then if you have anything else to add too, Mollie, I'm sure folks
and we'll put up the homesteading course is just starting on Monday, so it's like short notice, but we'll put up the other one and we'll use your same code and people can get 10% off on the October homesteading course as well. And we're in conversations of doing, it's really hot here in the summertime, but we're in conversations of doing a family summer camp where I don't love the idea of kids going off without their parents to summer camp, but we're thinking about doing some kind of summer camp where you can bring the whole family and swimming and saunas and searching for fossils and milking cows and like everything. And we'll do a midday inside fun things in the air conditioning. And then we'll do, early evening and early morning activities outside. We don't have the dates yet, but it's going to be sometime this summer. And we're excited about the idea of doing a family summer camp because it's also kind of like a summer camp for adults, because if you get to bring your kids and do something really different and fun. I don't know, what would the word be if you combine education and vacation? I really want to specialize in.
Yeah, that's a good question. Like a retreat,
sounds like
an informative retreat. I don't know.
Yeah, vacation sounds the same. Okay, well, yes, a vacation education opportunity for whole families. So we're also working on that for this summer. And if anybody's out there wants to do a yoga retreat, wants to do whatever, you can partner with us and we'll take care of the food and the housing. And on site, we have about 30 accommodations, different rooms, individual rooms. And then, we could bring in glamping tents if people wanted to do a bigger event than that. But we hope that people will come or have weddings or any kind of thing where you want to gather. The backdrop of a regenerative farm, what could be better than to gather in that? And we're also working on a whole kind of curriculum for doing family reunions that are going to be like lightly programmed. And so that, because family reunions, sometimes it can be like, can get crunchy. We're going to have different places to really have people be in different kinds of things to do to keep people in the heart space and questions and games and stuff. So
that's a great idea
on that, and putting the union back in family reunions. And we would provide all the food and everything like that. So you wouldn't have to worry about any of that as well.
And less stress because you're out in nature. So there's really nothing to get worked up about. So that's a great environment for that. Awesome. Cool. Well, there's a lot of exciting things in the works. The website again is sovereigntyranch.com. You can meet Mollie in person at either the Confluence Eclipse event coming up at Sovereignty Ranch, or you can meet Mollie in person at the Exit and Build Land Summit. She will be speaking on Saturday, and that will be May 18th. And then, of course, the farm tour, YaYy, is going to be at Sovereignty Ranch in Bandera, Texas on Monday, May 20th. So excited to get that information out there, and it'll come with a meal. You'll get to see the property. Maybe we'll get some live music going, and we're kind of still sorting out the details, but it's going to be an awesome experience for folks who can come out and see Sovereignty Ranch in person. So
thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on.
I'm excited to be coming and doing your summit, and I'm excited that that we connected at Confluence, and I'm excited to starting to be building a community of people here in Texas.
We've got a lot of freedom folk here in Texas, so this is just the beginning of a very exciting collaboration. But thank you so much for joining on the podcast. We'll sign out now. Thank you again, Mollie. And again, you guys can see Mollie at the Exit and Build Land Summit. And thank you for joining us. Awesome. Wow. My mind is spinning. That was wonderful. It's nice to know that there is a community like this that exists in Texas, because people are always asking us, are there, farms that we can visit, or larger scale operations where they have a restaurant, or they have the greenhouses and these, things that I can see it firsthand, so that I know for my future property, kind of how to set it up. So it's really inspiring to see how quickly Mollie and her team have built up everything at Sovereignty Ranch. I highly encourage you to go to Confluence. A lot of people are excited about the eclipse. This is going to be literally the best place in the entire country to watch the eclipse. So you really can't find a better opportunity than this in terms of an event and a viewing spot. And that's Confluence, the website. Again, if you go to the events tab here at sovereigntyranch.com/events, you'll be able to see all the great events at Sovereignty Ranch. But if you click Confluence, it'll take you to the actual event website for Confluence. And if you use the coupon code LIVEFREE10, you're actually going to get a 10% discount. Woohoo! So hopefully you'll come to that event. And of course, the Exit and Build Land Summit is just around the corner. We are only less than 3 months at this point away from the Land Summit. And we've got folks coming in speaking about real estate, property acquisition, land development, various representatives who have started established eco-villages and intentional communities across the world, investment fund representatives. We have world-renowned permaculturists. Joel Salatin's going to be joining in person as well. So we'll talk about biodynamic farming and food production, of course. So it's going to be an unbelievable experience. We hope that you can join us for the Exit and Build Land Summit. Mollie is going to be a speaker, and for anyone who attends the Exit and Build Land Summit in person, you are going to get invited to register for the optional farm tour, which Sovereignty Ranch Farm Tour will be Monday, May 20th. So hopefully you can join. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye. Signing out.